Welcome back to the Wizard Shop, and today we're going to talk about this beautiful CL55 AMG right after this. Thanks for stopping by and chilling in the Wizard Shop here again. We've got this beautiful 2005 CL55 AMG in the shop. It's all the way from Texas, guys. This guy traveled quite a distance because he wants Omega Auto Clinic doing this major conversion for him. These years of Mercedes, some of the S-Class, and especially the CO Class, has ABC hydraulic suspension on it. And they're frequently a plague and a nightmare. And that's actually what's going on here, is that the ABC Tandem pump, as they call it, it does power steering. Also it does the ABC hydraulic system all in one pump. And it was leaking pretty heavily, pretty bad. And the customer said, "Car Wizard, do you anticipate there'll be other problems after I get this fixed with the ABC system?" And I said, "You can bet on it. You're going to have struts leak, you're going to have valve blocks fail, you're going to have codes. It never ends. And it's not just 500 here or 800 there, it's 2,000, 1,000, 4,000. It adds up really, really fast." The customer said he really, really likes this car and he wants to keep it. He doesn't want to just dump the car because it's got suspension problems. And he actually suggested an idea of a conversion over to coil springs on this car. And I kind of looked it up and I said, yeah, we can totally do that. Strut Masters sells a kit that has all 4 struts, a small electronic module that fools the computer and eliminates the codes and warnings on the dash. But there's a little bit more to it than that. We're going to show you guys that. But first of all, let's get Michael over here. So you spent many years in a Mercedes dealership. Have you ever had a customer come in and say, "Hey, I've got ABC problems on my car. Can we throw it in the trash?"
All the time.
All the time?
All the time. These systems were really great when they first came out. They work really well. They're active body control. It's a great system, but as they get older, they just get more and more expensive.
More and more expensive. Did you ever have anyone actually have cash ready to have you actually throw the stuff in the trash?
At the dealership, no, not quite.
No.
They were usually willing to fix it. Whenever they were looking for retrofits, they were usually going somewhere else.
It's very easy on this car. If you had to fix everything, it'd be as much as the value of the car, or even more than the value of the car.
Easily.
Very easily. So Michael's actually been doing the work. He has all the struts off, and he's been doing all the work. We're about halfway done. We're actually just waiting on the parts right now, but I'm going to show you guys around what he's done and what the plans are going forward. There's more to doing this conversion than just pulling the hydraulic struts off and throwing coil spring struts on it. There's way more to it than that. This pump is a tandem pump. Half of it does your power steering, and the other half of it does your ABC hydraulic system. 2 separate reservoirs, but 1 single pump. So if you disable the ABC system and you disconnect the lines to the half of this pump that does the ABC system, it no longer will be circulating fluid, and it could lock up because it's not being lubricated. So you can't just delete the hoses off of this and still use the power steering pump. That's where some of the magic comes in of doing research and finding out what will work on here. Let me show you guys. This power steering pump is not out of a 2005 CL55. It is out of a 2004 E500, and it bolts directly in place of the tandem pump. It's even able to use the standard serpentine belt that goes to run the ABC pump. So one really cool thing about Mercedes is that in different engines they use different applications, but they don't redesign the whole drawing board. They reuse bolt holes for other systems. So we were able to put this pump in, all the bolts line up perfectly. We did have to have the power steering pressure line lengthened about 7 or 8 inches, and my friend in Halstead does hydraulic hose repair. He was able to he said, no problem. I gave him the hose, he crimped in an extension. It's perfect. Now it reaches all the way forward to the E500 power steering pump. We are reusing the power steering reservoir from the CL55, and we just ran a small length of an elbow-shaped hose where the plastic reservoir used to push in on top of the power steering pump. That plastic reservoir has been omitted, and now it uses the CL55 reservoir in its place.
Could making those modifications change anything with the power steering the way it works?
No. The power steering pump that's on here is used on so many multiple models. It uses on E350, E500, ML350. Anything with this style motor would have that power steering pump. Mercedes uses that across the board. And that's basically what we're doing. The power steering pump that's on the Tandem pump that we removed doesn't do anything differently or provide any different pressures than what the E500 pump does. So it's not going to change anything. It's not going to mess up anything. It'll make it able to retain power steering and no longer have to worry about the other half of the pump locking up because it's not having fluid circulate through it. So one of the first things you have to delete and convert on this ABC conversion is get rid of the Tandem pump and put an E350 or an E500 power steering pump in its place, lengthen the pressure line about 7 or 8 inches, and reuse the reservoir. The ABC reservoir will sit empty, will not be used anymore. All of the lines that go all to the wheels will be capped. The little quick connect that's there will just be a cap. And that system will sit idle and no longer be used. So I'll get this thing raised up and I'll show what we've done so far at the struts themselves. So at each of all 4 wheels, Michael has removed these huge giant hydraulic strut assemblies. These are going to get thrown in a pile and go in scrap metal. I could possibly resell them as good used equipment to somebody, but these things fail so regularly. I don't want to give somebody something and it lasts 3 months and then I get nasty emails. So this right here is a quick disconnect hose that goes to that strut I just showed you. It's very easy to just move the collar and undo it. It's very simple. That will receive a plug that's included in the kit so that you don't get dirt in there. Not that it really matters. And there's a little caliper hanging by a bungee cord, not by the hydraulic hose, which is good. I'm glad he did that. As you see in this picture, the Strut Masters kit comes with all the struts, a module, and the plugs. If we were just to rip all this stuff out and put springs in it, you're going to have warnings and all kinds of things on your dash. The car is not going to be happy at all. It's going to be really angry with you. But once you plug in this little module, the lights go away. It's as if the system's fully functional, even though it's not. So we've got all 4 struts removed. We'll be replacing them with the Strut Masters coilover struts, putting on the module, and we've already done the power steering. So this guy will get taken care of. He'll be able to drive his car. It'll be comfortable. It'll still have a nice soft ride. I've read people that have done this and it's still a comfortable ride. But he can enjoy this car from here on out without, now this strut's leaking, now that strut's leaking, now I've got a code for the valve block over and over and over again. If a strut leaks, especially at a dealership, it's $2,000 per wheel. Most of that is the cost of the part and the labor, everything involved. If we had to replace all 4 struts and the tandem pumps at a dealership is $1,700 just for the pump. We could quickly exceed $10,000 to fix this ABC system. Completely renovate it, that is. And I agree with this customer with the idea that we don't like to take cash and light it on fire. So that's not what we're going to do here. We're going to spend the money. It's going to be around $4 grand to do this job. But then he's done. He can enjoy the car for many years to come. And in about 2 or 3 years he'll get his money back, because that'll be about what he would have had to spend to keep this ABC system running. After that, he's free and clear. So let's take a look at the parts pile here on the floor. So here we have the pile of parts that are going in my scrap metal bin. There's the tandem pump, which was leaking, very, very heavily leaking from the front input seal. It's just some sort of resonant chamber or some kind of a chamber there. Some hoses. And then we have the struts here, all 4 struts. The struts didn't currently have any issues, but they will. They'll start leaking fluid out, and that will be all she wrote. 2,000 bucks a side per wheel. Per wheel, that's not per side. While we got the car on the lift, let's take a look underneath and see if there's any other leaks under there. Mercedes do have a tendency to have some leaks here or there. As you can probably watch some of Hoovie's garage, there's a lot of his Mercedes. Well, this is leak, that's leaking. But they're really not that bad compared to a BMW or an Audi or something. But there might be a little bit of drippage here where Michael has been working, but let's check to see if there's any other leaks going on. Oil pan looks nice and clean. Transmission's nice and dry. Not too much going on there. Look back here. Differential's nice and clean, nice and dry. Drive shaft looks okay. At some point he may need a new flex disc, but it's okay for now. So as you can see, there's not a whole lot wrong with this car. He just wants to get the suspension taken care of, and he can really start to enjoy this car. And it is a cool car. It's very fast. Supercharged V8. Very, very fast. So I'm glad you guys could follow along and show you what's all involved in doing this conversion. We're also getting new supercharger serpentine belt and also the main serpentine belt. And this guy will be back on the road. There are times with certain cars when you want to keep everything, all numbers matching original. But he wants to enjoy this car without shelling out $10,000 and $12,000 and $15,000 by the time it's all said and done. When you get to a point on one of these cars where they're worth $6,000 or $8,000 bucks, and you're going to put that much into getting the suspension done, it really doesn't make sense. It's not a good idea. It's not a wise investment. What the customer is doing, however, is a wise investment. It will be a lot of money up front to get this done, but he'll be able to drive his car and have fun with it.
Car Wizard, what would happen if he just said, screw it, I don't want to do any of it, and just left the old ones on there?
His tandem pump will eventually start leaking really bad, worse and worse and worse. It actually had some codes in it for insufficient pressure being built. It was getting weak. It would eventually just go flat and the system would have failed. Then if he tried to sell the car, it would be at a drastic loss, and the next guy would have a huge bill to try to get this thing back on the road again. There's many cars that have air suspension, especially Range Rovers, or there's Airmatic on Mercedes-Benz, and I, for one, champion keeping those systems running and not deleting them, because you can get now airbags or different things for a fairly decent price, and they're not hard to change out. I actually had a white Range Rover that I converted it to springs because I got tired of the suspension system having errors, and I thought I would be good to go. But the truth of the matter is it rode pretty stiff. It rode kind of like a truck, a pickup truck or something. It was pretty rough for being a Range Rover. I was never really happy with it. And I would champion on a Range Rover especially, it's worth getting the system working. A new air compressor, bags, or checking for leaks, things of that nature, and getting it working again, because they ride so nice when they're working. This system, however, is not worth the effort, because where an airbag on a Range Rover, you can get them now aftermarket, a couple $100. These things are $1,200 and $1,400 per strut, and almost $2,000 for the tandem pump. It's just way overkill when it comes to keeping these things on the road with the suspension system repairs. So thanks for coming along and chilling in the shop with me, checking out the CL55. Don't forget to check the links below. There's all kinds of really cool links and kind of tools I use. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We got many more cool videos to come. Thanks for watching.